When you get into SEO, everyone tries to make it sound like the most complicated thing in the world. And don't get me wrong, it can get complicated. However, let's make it really easy, because most people just want to complicate this and say, you know, there's over 200 ranking factors and Google make over 500 algorithm changes every year and all this complicated stuff. But let's just simplify it. If we didn't overcomplicate it, what is the actual essentials? Because I've been doing SEO now for almost 8 years actually, and it's still pretty much the same thing as when I started. There has been changes when you look at it from a granular level, but if you look at the overall thing, it's still the same game as when I got into it 8 years ago. So let's just simplify this a little bit for you guys, okay? So really, SEO comes down to 3 factors. Right? Not 200, 3 factors that are basically the same thing, just looking at it in different specific ways. So those 3 factors are A, R, and T. So I just remember this as R, so it's nice and easy, okay? Authority, relevance, and trust. And that is it. That is how easy SEO is. Okay? Let me explain, okay? Authority. Google want to rank a website that is an authority. It's the same with people, right? We look to a person that is an authority figure. We look at someone that seems to know what they're talking about and be confident about it. So we call this authority. You could also call this power, right? So Google want to rank websites that have authority. What does this mean? It means that the New York Times is gonna rank much easier than DaraRossa.com, right? Which I don't think I even use that, right? But it's going to rank much better because it's an authority. But also, you have authorities in certain topics. So I'm going to rank much easier about SEO than, say, a sofa company, right? Because I'm an authority to a degree on SEO, whereas they're an authority at best at sofas and at furniture. So authority is a big factor. Then you have relevance, and again, that's kind of what I just mentioned there, but it ties in that relevance. If I want to create a page on my site about sofas or about phones, what do I know about phones? I'm an SEO guy, I'm an SEO website. So relevance matters a lot. And then there's trust. And sure, 100 people link to your website, but they're all blog comments and it's all spam. And sure, you have a lot of content on this, but your website is a month old, right? So there's trust. Is your website trustworthy? Google don't want to rank a site that is scammy, that is going to screw people over, that is just a bad site. So they want to rank trustworthy sites. So if we look at all these 200 plus, 300 plus, 1,000 plus ranking factors, however many there are, it just comes down to those 3 factors: authority, relevance, and trust. So let me give you an example. People will say, okay, backlinks. You need to have links to your website to rank. Well, guess what? There's a ton of ranking factors within backlinks, sure. There's firstly, the number of backlinks you have vaguely, but then within that, there is the metrics of the backlink. There is the relevance of the backlink. There is possibly, you could argue, there's like velocity things in there where if you're building a lot of links at once versus small number at a time, whatever, you can talk about that. There is the anchor text, if I didn't already mention that. There's different factors within that. But if you look at what those factors actually look at, let's say anchor text, okay? The anchor text of the link, that is the text of the link pointing to your website. Well, what is that looking at? Relevance, right? It's looking at relevance. So authority, relevance, trust. The anchor text, if the anchor text is linked to a page about sofas and the anchor text, the text of the link says sofas, then you can bet that it's relevant to the topic and therefore the keywords sofas. Therefore, every factor is authority, relevance, and trust. You don't need to overcomplicate this. If the page that is linking to you is about leather sofas and it's linking to a page about leather sofas, that is a very relevant link. Now, does that mean that a page about leather sofas can't link to something else? No, it could link to anything else. It could link to a cleaning page. It could link to a business or a website about cleaning or a blog post about cleaning. But you can kind of deduce that there has to be some link There has to be some link between, this is a leather sofa page and it's linked to these other pages. You have to have some sort of relevance to leather sofas for that link to exist, right? So there's relevance there. There's also trust, okay? What factors look at trust? Well, people say that social signals matter for rankings from a trust perspective, because if you have 1,000 backlinks and you have 0 social signals, there's people liking it or sharing it on social media, like it on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. If you have 0 social signals, then you will have a lot of difficulty ranking. Well, guess what? That is a trust factor. If you don't have social signals and you have links, it is unnatural, therefore it's untrustworthy. So that is a trust factor. And if you look at, say, the strength of the backlinks that you have, well, guess what? That is an authority factor. If you have a lot of links from other authority websites, then you must be an authority yourself, right? If you're in a room with very influential people, you're probably a fairly influential person yourself. Not always, but it's a pretty good indicator of that, okay? So, authority, relevance, and trust. If you want to simplify SEO, you want to understand this without going, okay, there's a million bazillion ranking factors. That's it. Authority, relevance, and trust. Now let's step one level higher. Let's go one level deeper into this, okay? So within authority, relevance, and trust, SEO pretty much breaks down into what you say, technical SEO, on-page SEO, and link building. So technical SEO, what does that mean? It means having a site architecture that is easy for a search engine to crawl and go through and identify all your pages, right? That's it. So it means like having a fast site, having a site that's really easy to crawl, and not having a ton of like broken links and junk pages and just things like that. Just having a nice, easy to crawl and understand website from a technical perspective. Then you have on-page SEO, which is your content and optimization of that content. And then you have your backlinks, which is really a massive ranking factor. And that's just other people linking to your website. So we could pretty much say, okay, there's authority, relevance, and trust. And then when it comes to, okay, let's put this into practice, what do you actually do? Well, you have good technical SEO. You set up your site so it's easy to crawl. Then you do on-page SEO. What is on-page SEO mostly about? On-page SEO can be a little bit of authority, it can be a little bit of trust, right? It can be authority because you have a lot of content around this topic. You have a lot of pages. Hey, if you have a 500-page site, you're probably a pretty good authority on the topic, on that overall theme, right? And trust being if you have a contact information page, if you have contact details on there, phone number, address, if you have delivery information, you have a guarantee information, you have an about page with pictures and information for that. These factors are trust elements. By having it on your page, it's more trustworthy than if you didn't. But for the most part, it's about relevance, right? And the simplest way of putting this in terms of relevance is if I want to rank for iPhone X, I forgot what phone I have, iPhone X, then I better have a page about iPhone X, you know? If the keyword is iPhone X review and I have a page reviewing an iPhone X, then I'm not relevant to that keyword, therefore I cannot rank for it. Again, making this nice and simple. So on-page SEO is predominantly about relevance. Now, it could be topical relevance, where it's like, okay, if I got to rank for iPhone X review, then what do I have to have on the page? Well, just mention iPhone X is probably one thing, and mention review, obviously another, but I probably have to mention Apple, right? I probably have to mention this is an Apple device. I maybe want to mention competitors. I maybe want to mention some of the chips and stuff, whatever they are. I don't even know anything about that stuff that's inside the phone, right? I want to mention the camera. Like, could you imagine a review post doesn't mention a camera? So that's topical relevance, but again, it is just relevance. That's all it is. It's being relevant to the topic, being relevant to that keyword, just things like that. So yes, there is technical SEO. Yes, there's on-page SEO. Yes, there's link building. And yes, you can dive deeper into that. But it's basically, okay, how can I be an authority on this topic? How can it be relevant within my content and even within my links to this topic, these keywords, and how can I be trusted? And can you be a trusted expert on this topic? Can you hire someone to write content for you that is a trusted expert? If it's a health site, can you hire a dietitian to write your content about dieting? I mean, who knew, right? That will all help because it's trust factors there. And when you go out there and build links, okay, having a link from a trusted website is more trustworthy than having a link from an untrusted website, right? But that is also a ranking factor. So look, the point of this video is that SEO is much easier than you think. And here's all SEO is. Set up your site from a technical perspective, create enough content around the topic, either on the overall site or on the page itself, that is relevant to the keyword and the topic that you want to rank for, and then build links to it. Done. Now we can get more granular, and we can say that you want to build these types of links, and you want to have the anchor text of the link, and you want to have certain content length and everything like that, but just simplify it, okay? Technical SEO, set up your site properly. This doesn't even matter if it's a small site. Create content around the topic, and then build links to that content and that website. And if you want to make this even simpler, again, if you want to do this right, look at what your competitors are doing and copy that. They have 1,000 words of content on average, have 1,000 words of content on average. They have 10 backlinks to that page on average, build 10 backlinks to that page on average. If they have these certain pages, create those certain pages. Look at what works and copy it, and just do that with authority, relevance, and trust in mind. Stop overcomplicating SEO. Sure, as experts, as people that get paid for this, we should know every little detail of it. But if someone's asking you how to get started with SEO, how to rank their content, just create content around the topic and then get some links to it. I mean, come on, let's not overcomplicate the crap out of this. It just doesn't need to be done. So that is my point for this video, that the basics of SEO are actually very, very simple. It's not complicated whatsoever. You don't need to know hundreds of ranking factors. I don't know every ranking factor. Tools tell me to do this, right? Surfer tells me to do this. Surfer just tells me, here's all the phrases to include, here's the changes you need to make, here's how easy it is based on what's working. I don't need to know every single factor off the top of my head, because I'm not even going to consider every factor. What I am considering is what is the authority, right? How can I build up the authority of this site? How can I build up the relevance of this site, of this content, via links, whatever? And how can I build up and establish that it's a trustworthy website, it's a trustworthy source of information? Remember those factors and you are good. Stop overcomplicating it. And do me a favor, if you like this, please click the like button below so YouTube recommends this video to more people. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I could simplify this a little bit more than these 100 different ranking factors and overcomplicated crap, okay? It doesn't matter. Just authority, relevance, trust. Remember those three things, art, and keep it simple. I'll see you in my next video.